Imagine a universe in which the heavens served as a battlefield, where great acts of bravery and innovation determined the course of history, rather than merely a boundless expanse of blue. One individual stood out in this world of peril and adventure: James H. Doolittle, whose name was synonymous with boldness and inventiveness. Come with me as we take a voyage over the skies, where each turn exposes the captivating story of a trailblazer whose legacy soars and inspires wonder and admiration in the hearts of those who dare to dream of flight. Few names in the annals of aviation history are as well known as James H. Doolittle's. Doolittle was a trailblazer, a visionary, and a hero of the air, and his legacy lives on in the audacious achievements and barriers he smashed. Doolittle's life is an inspiration to bravery, ingenuity, and the unwavering pursuit of excellence, from his renowned World War II raid on Tokyo to his revolutionary contributions to aircraft technology and leadership. Come along as we explore the fascinating tale of a man who defied the clouds and left a lasting impression on the aviation industry and beyond. Imagine a universe where the heavens are a battlefield, where acts of bravery and innovation shape history. In this world, one name stands out: James H. Doolittle, synonymous with boldness and inventiveness. Join me on a journey through the skies, where each turn reveals the story of a trailblazer whose legacy inspires wonder and admiration in those who dream of flight. Doolittle is most known for leading a squadron of B-25 bombers on a risky mission to attack the Japanese mainland in April 1942. This raid raised American morale after the attack on Pearl Harbor and proved that long-range bombing raids against Japan were feasible. People widely refer to it as the Doolittle Raid. Because of this raid, Doolittle became a poster child for American valor in the war, demonstrating his boldness, strategic brilliance, and creative thinking. Few names in aviation history are as renowned as James H. Doolittle's. He was a visionary, a hero of the air, and his legacy endures in his groundbreaking achievements and barriers he shattered. Doolittle's life is a testament to bravery, ingenuity, and the relentless pursuit of excellence, from his famous World War II raid on Tokyo to his revolutionary contributions to aircraft technology and leadership. Let's explore the remarkable tale of a man who defied the clouds and left a lasting impact on the aviation industry and beyond. Doolittle's leadership extended beyond the battlefield. Generations of aviators and military leaders looked up to him as an inspiration because he personified bravery, tenacity, and excellence. His legacy keeps inspiring future pilots and aviation enthusiasts all across the world, serving as a constant reminder of the aviation industry's revolutionary potential and the unwavering spirit of those who dare to aim high. James H. Doolittle's contributions to aviation are monumental. Known for leading a squadron of B-25 bombers on a daring mission to attack the Japanese mainland in April 1942, this Doolittle raid boosted American morale after Pearl Harbor and demonstrated that long-range bombing raids against Japan were possible. Doolittle's boldness, strategic brilliance, and innovative thinking made him a symbol of American valor in the war. On December 14, 1896, in Alameda, California, Frank Henry Doolittle and Rosa Shepard welcomed James Harold Doolittle into the world. As a young child growing up during the early days of aviation, James was fascinated by the wonders of flight. His father, a carpenter by profession, encouraged his son's curiosity and love of tinkering and exploring, fostering his interest in engineering and mechanics. Beyond the Doolittle raid, he made significant advances in aircraft tactics and technology, pushing the boundaries of aviation's capabilities. His foresight paved the way for advancements in military aviation, influencing aerial combat for generations. Doolittle enrolled at the University of California, Berkeley, to pursue a degree in mining engineering, after graduating from high school in 1914. But the start of World War I halted his education, and he had to enlist in the American Army. Aviation Section, Army Signal Corps, 1917. Doolittle's leadership extended beyond the battlefield. Generations of aviators and military leaders look up to him as an icon of bravery, tenacity, and excellence. His legacy continues to inspire future pilots and aviation enthusiasts worldwide. After the war, Doolittle went back to his studies at Berkeley, where he eventually earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1922. Still, his love of flying never wavered, and he went on to study aeronautical engineering at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. There, Doolittle developed his abilities and broadened his knowledge of aviation technology under the direction of well-known aviation pioneer Professor Jerome C. Hunsaker, setting the groundwork for his subsequent successes in the industry. Born on December 14, 1896, in Alameda, California, Doolittle grew up fascinated by flight. Encouraged by his father, a carpenter, Doolittle's curiosity in engineering and mechanics flourished. Despite financial difficulties, his family supported his academic pursuits, leading to his excellence in math and science. Frank Henry Doolittle, a carpenter, and Rosa Shepherd Doolittle were the parents of James Harold Doolittle, who was born on December 14, 1896, in Alameda, California, USA. After high school, Doolittle enrolled at the University of California, Berkeley, to study mining engineering. However, World War I interrupted his education, and he enlisted in the Army Signal Corps in 1917. His aviation career began at Rockwell Field, San Diego, where he quickly showed promise as a fearless pilot. James's early passion for engineering and mechanics was probably motivated by his father's carpentry job and his exposure to the rapidly advancing technologies of the day. James's subsequent accomplishments in aviation can be attributed to Frank Doolittle, who saw his son's potential and supported his interests and endeavors. After the war, Doolittle returned to Berkeley, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1922, and then pursued aeronautical engineering at MIT. Under the mentorship of aviation pioneer Professor Jerome C. Hunsaker, Doolittle honed his skills, setting the stage for his future successes. James H. Doolittle came from modest origins in Alameda, California, and his incredible path to becoming one of the most well-known people in aviation history was based on the ideals instilled in him throughout his formative years and his family's unflinching support. Doolittle's early military service laid the foundation for his legendary career. Although he didn't see combat in World War I, his training ingrained in him the virtues of discipline, leadership, and dedication. Doolittle was enthralled by the wonders of aeroplanes and the audacious adventures of pioneering aviators as a child, growing up during the early years of powered flight. The Wright brothers' landmark flights at Kitty Hawk in 1903 captivated young James, who eagerly followed the news of aviation advancements. After World War I, Doolittle's desire to fly led him to the newly established U.S. Army Air Service, USAS, in 1921. His early aviation accomplishments, including record-breaking flights and pioneering work in instrument flying, showcased his bravery and expertise. His natural curiosity and aptitude for mechanics also greatly influenced Doolittle's interest in aircraft. He showed an early aptitude for troubleshooting mechanical issues and an insatiable curiosity about it. Doolittle's practical approach to education, whether it was constructing model aeroplanes or disassembling household appliances to examine their internal mechanisms, prepared the way for his future endeavors in aviation. Despite not witnessing combat, Doolittle's contributions to aviation technology and training were significant. His efforts paved the way for modern strategies and technologies in military aviation. James H. Doolittle's early inspirations and aviation interests came together as he traversed his formative years. influencing his fate as a flight pioneer. Doolittle's journey from the modest beginnings of an aeroplane-loving youngster to the pinnacles of his legendary aviation career is a perfect example of the power of curiosity, perseverance, and imagination in achieving one's goals among the ever-expanding sky. In the post-war era, Doolittle continued to push aviation's boundaries, influencing commercial aviation, technology advancements, and safety standards. His groundbreaking work in instrument flying revolutionized aviation navigation, making flying safer and more reliable. Doolittle enrolled at the University of California, Berkeley, to seek a degree in mining engineering after finishing his elementary and secondary studies. His enthusiasm for aviation never dimmed, even if at first he concentrated on mining. This inspired him to look for ways to integrate his intellectual interests with his love of flying. Doolittle's record-breaking flights and innovations solidified his status as an aviation legend. His first blind flight in 1929, using only instruments, was a landmark achievement that laid the foundation for modern aviation navigation systems. At San Diego, California's Rockwell Field, Doolittle underwent flight training while serving in the Army Signal Corps. He made a name for himself as a proficient pilot right away, showcasing both an innate talent for flying and an adventurous attitude in the cockpit. Doolittle seized the chance to become an expert pilot, despite the risks and difficulties associated with aviation in its infancy, setting the stage for his subsequent successes in the domain. Throughout his career, Doolittle's leadership, strategic thinking, and dedication to innovation left an indelible mark on aviation history. His legacy endures, inspiring future generations to reach new heights in the skies. Professor Jerome C. Hunsaker, a well-known aviation pioneer, mentored Doolittle while he studied aeronautics and aeronautical engineering at MIT. During his stay at MIT, he developed his technical expertise as well as his abilities as an innovative and visionary thinker in the aviation industry. Doolittle's training and early work in engineering and aviation established his reputation as a pioneer in the industry and prepared the way for his future successes. Equipped with a robust academic background, real-world experience, and an unyielding love of aviation, he set out on a mission that would leave an enduring impression on aviation history. James H. Doolittle enlisted in the United States military to start his military career. His amazing military aviation career began in the Army Signal Corps Aviation Section during World War I. After the United States entered World War I in 1917, Doolittle jumped at the chance to help with the war effort and realize his dream of becoming a pilot. He joined the Army Signal Corps Aviation Section and trained as a pilot at San Diego, California's Rockwell Field. Doolittle won the respect of his instructors and fellow trainees by displaying extraordinary skill, perseverance, and a fearless attitude in the cockpit, despite the hard and demanding nature of flight school. Doolittle gained a strong foundation in aviation essentials such as piloting methods, navigation, and aircraft maintenance during his training at Rockwell Field. In addition to developing his flying abilities, he learned vital lessons about the tactical and strategic facets of military aviation, which better equipped him for the difficulties that lay ahead. Doolittle's time in the Army Signal Corps launched his military career and stoked his love of flying, even though World War I ended before he saw combat. Doolittle laid the foundation for his future accomplishments in the fields of engineering and aviation upon his return to civilian life by pursuing his academic and professional interests in these fields. Doolittle's early military service not only gave him invaluable aviation training and experience, but it also ingrained in him the virtues of discipline, leadership, and duty-driven devotion that would characterize his later national service. The lessons Doolittle learned during his early years in the Army Signal Corps, which he carried with him as he embarked on his next adventure, shaped his destiny as one of the most significant individuals in military aviation history. James H. Doolittle's desire to become an aircraft pilot drove him to look for other military chances following the end of World War I, following the founding of the U.S. When Doolittle joined the Army Air Service, USAAS, in 1918, he saw a new opportunity to pursue his love of flight and promote military aviation. After submitting an application for a commission in 1921, the USAAS accepted Doolittle as a reserve officer. He was moving from his former position in the Army Signal Corps to the emerging field of military aviation. Therefore, this was a major turning point in his military career. Doolittle's choice to enlist in the USAAS was a reflection of both his unwavering love of aviation and his dedication to defending his nation. Doolittle saw a chance to significantly influence the direction of American air power, despite the difficulties and uncertainties confronting the nascent Air Force in the years following World War II. Doolittle began a new chapter in his military career as a newly commissioned officer in the USAAS, eager to contribute his skills and knowledge to the development of aviation tactics and technology. In addition to being a personal accomplishment, his appointment to the USAAS was evidence of his commitment to succeeding in the military aviation industry. James H. Doolittle's military career took a significant turn when he enlisted in the Army Air Service, which launched him on a path that would make him one of the most important individuals in aviation history. Doolittle would go on to make a lasting impact on the growth of American air power and the country's defense with his talents, leadership qualities, and uncompromising dedication to perfection. The early flying accomplishments of James H. Doolittle and his later promotions in the United States. The Army Air Service, USAAS, emphasized his remarkable abilities, capacity for leadership, and commitment to the advancement of military aviation. Doolittle made quick work of his aviation career after enlisting in the USAAS in 1921 as a reserve officer. His academic expertise in engineering and aeronautics, along with his innate aptitude as a pilot, established him as a rising star within the company. Doolittle marked his early aviation accomplishments with a string of groundbreaking actions and record-breaking flights that showcased his bravery and expertise. He accomplished the once impossible outer loop in 1922, becoming the first pilot to do so. He received a great deal of praise for this audacious aerobatic performance, which also cemented his standing as an accomplished pilot. In the years that followed, Doolittle carried out a number of groundbreaking experiments and demonstrations to further push the limits of aviation. His groundbreaking work in instrument flying and navigation methods advanced aviation safety and set the stage for further advancements in the industry. Doolittle's superiors in the USAAS were aware of his excellent performance and contributions to aviation. Doolittle's technical proficiency and leadership ability were quickly recognized, and he was quickly promoted to major in 1926 and lieutenant colonel in 1929. These advancements represented not only Doolittle's personal accomplishments, but also his increasing stature in the USAAS and the aviation world at large. Doolittle took on more significant leadership responsibilities as he advanced through the ranks, managing significant programs and projects meant to strengthen the capabilities of the American Air Force. Doolittle was a rising star in military aviation, as seen by his early accomplishments and promotions within the USAAS. His leadership skills and groundbreaking achievements paved the way for even bigger successes down the road, solidifying his reputation as one of the aviation industry's most important personalities. James H. Doolittle did not witness any active fighting during World War I, despite the fact that his military career started during that time. Nonetheless, he made a substantial contribution to the war effort, especially in the areas of aviation technology and instruction. Having joined the U.S., Doolittle, an aircraft section commander in the Army Signal Corps, completed intensive flying school, and had significant flying experience. Although the war ended before Doolittle could finish his training, his stint in the Army Signal Corps prepared him for his subsequent successes in aviation and prevented him from participating in combat flights. Because aircraft technology was still developing during World War I, there was an urgent demand for qualified pilots, as well as improvements in aircraft performance and design. Doolittle's flying experience and training gave him a unique perspective on the difficulties military aviation faces, as well as areas that may use innovation and advancement. Doolittle kept pushing for improvements in aviation training and technology after the war. His involvement in World War I influenced his perception of the tactical and strategic significance of air power, which inspired him to seek additional study and investigation in the field of aeronautical engineering. Even though Doolittle's direct involvement in the war ended before it could fully impact the future of military aviation, his skills as a pilot and his subsequent attempts to enhance aviation technology and training had a lasting effect. His groundbreaking research paved the way for the creation of fresh strategies, tools, and instructional techniques that would ultimately influence the direction of aircraft combat in the years to come. The aviation industry changed dramatically after World War I, as countries turned their attention from waging war to peaceful endeavors. The enormous advancements in aviation technology, industry, and culture during the post-war era made the contemporary era of flying possible. The expansion of commercial aviation was one of the most significant post-war developments in aviation. There was a renewed interest in employing aeroplanes for civilian purposes after the war, thanks to excess aircraft and experienced pilots returning from combat. As they developed, airlines started to offer mail and passenger services over progressively greater distances. The growth of commercial aviation facilitated the public's increased accessibility to air travel. Improvements in manufacturing processes and aircraft design simultaneously fueled innovation in aviation technology. To increase aircraft performance and dependability, engineers and designers experimented with novel materials, aerodynamic theories, and propulsion systems. These advancements paved the way for the construction of quicker, more effective aircraft that can travel farther without sacrificing comfort or safety. Throughout the post-war era, governments established standards and regulatory bodies to ensure the effectiveness and safety of aviation operations. Governments all over the world established organizations entrusted with establishing and upholding standards for aircraft design, maintenance, and operations as a result of seeing the need for monitoring and control in the rapidly growing aviation sector. In addition, there was a boom in aviation culture and passion in the years following World War II. Air displays, races, and exhibitions gained popularity as tourist destinations, drawing sizable crowds of people eager to experience aviation's wonders for themselves. The audacious feats and record-breaking flights of aviation pioneers and heroes like Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart inspired a new generation of aviators and fans. All things considered, the advancements in aviation during World War II brought about a new period of development and opportunity, turning flying from a novelty into a necessary means of transportation and a representation of human achievement. With the start of the 20th century, aviation would continue to develop, changing the path of history and fundamentally altering how people communicate and travel. James H. Doolittle's groundbreaking discoveries and aviation record-breaking flights were crucial to the advancement of aviation. Doolittle was an accomplished pilot, creative engineer, and fearless leader whose impact went well beyond the cockpit, significantly influencing the development of aviation history. Doolittle's groundbreaking work in instrument flying is among his most noteworthy accomplishments. Doolittle saw the need for more dependable ways to fly in bad weather or at night, In an era when aviation mainly depended on visual cues and landmarks for navigation, he laid the groundwork for contemporary instrument flight by creating and testing new instruments and methods for flying just by reference to instruments, drawing on his engineering training and real-world flying experience. Apart from his notable achievements in instrument flying, Doolittle also made noteworthy advances to the design and performance of aircraft. Because of his background in aeronautical engineering, he was able to pinpoint problems with current aircraft and suggest creative fixes to increase their performance. Doolittle's discoveries and ideas contributed to the expansion of aviation's perceived capabilities, resulting in the creation of quicker, more effective aircraft that can travel greater lengths and heights. His record-breaking flights further cemented Doolittle's status as a trail-blazing aviator. He made aviation history in 1922 when he executed the outside loop, a risky move that demonstrated his courage and talent in the air. This accomplishment showed off Doolittle's skill in aerobatics, as well as his willingness to push the envelope and discover new flying territories. Once more changing the course of aviation history, Doolittle accomplished the first blind flight in 1929, using just his instruments and no outside visual aids. This historic trip established the foundation for the advancement of contemporary aviation navigation systems and proved that instrument flying was feasible. Doolittle's record-breaking flights and technological innovations helped to develop aviation throughout his career, inspiring a new generation of pilots, engineers, and inventors. His pioneering efforts saved countless lives and enabled many journeys, cementing his position as one of the most significant personalities in aviation history. James H. Doolittle left the military to have a remarkable civilian career and pursue scholarly endeavors that enhanced his standing as an aviation pioneer and leader. After the First World War, Doolittle returned to civilian life with a plethora of knowledge and skills from his time flying in the United States Air Force Army. Making use of his technical and aviation experience, he looked for chances to use his abilities in the business world. Leaders in the business soon noticed Doolittle's reputation as a talented aviator and creative thinker, which opened up a number of lucrative job prospects. Apart from his work in the civilian world, Doolittle never wavered in his commitment to furthering his education and experience. He enrolled in the Aeronautical Engineering program at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, after realizing the value of continuing education in a field that was changing quickly. Doolittle further refined his abilities and expanded his knowledge of the aviation industry by delving deeply into the academic and practical facets of the industry under the direction of eminent aviation pioneer Professor Jerome C. Hunsaker. With his move to the civilian world and his academic endeavors, Doolittle began a new chapter in his career, one that was defined by his unwavering pursuit of innovation and dedication to perfection. Doolittle continued to push the limits of what was considered possible in aviation, while he negotiated the complexities of the civilian aviation sector and immersed himself in the intellectual environment of MIT, building the foundation for his subsequent successes and contributions to the profession. In the end, Doolittle's academic endeavors and professional shift to the civilian sector enabled him to use his technical know-how and military background to further aviation for a long time. His visionary leadership and inventiveness in the business and academic domains cleared the path for fresh insights and breakthroughs that would influence aviation for many years to come. Escalating political, economic, and territorial disputes among different nations fostered escalating tensions in the Pacific region in the years preceding World War II. These tensions showed themselves in a sequence of confrontations and disputes that got more intense until war broke out. Imperial Japan's expansionist goals were one of the main causes of conflict in the Pacific. Through military conquest and colonization, Japan pursued an aggressive territorial expansion strategy in an attempt to achieve domination over East Asia and the Western Pacific. Japan's expansionist policies, which were frequently defended with arguments of Pan-Asianism and anti-colonialism, put it at odds with its neighbors, especially China and the European colonial powers. Japan began its aggressive expansion in the region in 1931 with the Manchurian Incident, in which Japanese armed forces took control of the Chinese province of Manchuria. In addition to drawing worldwide criticism, this act of aggression demonstrated the unwillingness of Western nations to take a firm stand on Asian issues. Tensions in the Pacific region increased during the 1930s as Japan persisted with its expansionist agenda. Tensions increased even further after the 1937 Marco Polo Bridge incident, which set off Japan's full-scale invasion of China and brought attention from around the world to the mounting threat that Japanese militarism posed. Japan's expansionist goals and the possible danger they posed to Western powers' interests in the Pacific in the meantime caused the US and other Western nations to become more and more alarmed. Despite the use of diplomatic pressure and economic penalties to curb Japanese aggression, Japan persisted in its expansionist objectives. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, which propelled the United States into World War II, marked the peak of these tensions. The strike not only damaged the US. In addition to shocking the American people, the Pacific Fleet helped to mobilize support for America's entry into the war against Japan and its Axis allies. In summary, Japan's aggressive expansionism, competing territorial ambitions, and escalating struggle for regional dominance were the main causes of developing tensions in the Pacific during the period leading up to World War II. In the end, these tensions influenced the history of the Pacific theater and prepared the ground for war to break out. During World War II, James H. Doolittle's participation in strategic planning and training played a crucial role in forming important military operations and equipping American soldiers for battle. Being an accomplished pilot and a seasoned military commander, Doolittle brought to the Allied war effort a special blend of tactical know-how and strategic insight. Military leaders trusted Doolittle with significant responsibilities in training and strategic planning because they recognized his strengths and knew he could use his knowledge and expertise to create winning plans. In early 1942, after the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor, Doolittle was tasked with leading a squadron of B-25 bombers on a daring mission to strike the heart of Japan. This raid on Tokyo became known as the Doolittle Raid, and it remains one of his most notable contributions to strategic planning. The raid, which involved launching bombers from an aircraft carrier within striking distance of the Japanese mainland, required thorough planning and coordination. Doolittle was instrumental in formulating the plan for the operation, choosing the personnel and aircraft, and organizing the logistics required to carry it out. Apart from his participation in particular military actions, Doolittle was instrumental in equipping and training American aviators for warfare. Using his personal experiences as a pilot and leader, Doolittle created cutting-edge training regimens and strategies to increase the efficiency and longevity of bomber crews. His focus on realism in training, battle simulations, and strenuous physical preparation helped American aviators gain confidence and proficiency and ensure they were ready for the demands of aerial combat. Doolittle's ability to invent creative strategies, instill confidence in his subordinates, and adjust to changing conditions made him a crucial figure in the Allied victory. His leadership and expertise in strategic planning and training played a significant role in shaping the outcome of World War II. Beyond his personal accomplishments, Doolittle left a lasting legacy through the innumerable aviators he trained and the strategic concepts he helped develop, which still have an impact on military operations and planning today. The creation of the Tokyo Raid Plan was an audacious and painstakingly planned operation that called for creative thinking, cautious preparation, and exact execution. The raid, led by James H. Doolittle, was a direct reaction to the horrific attack on Pearl Harbor and was intended to deal a blow to Japan's core in order to raise American spirits and highlight the fragility of the Japanese country. Soon after the December 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor, the Tokyo Raid preparations got underway. The military authorities looked to Doolittle, an experienced aviator and creative thinker, to design a strategy for striking Japan's mainland after realizing that a forceful and immediate response was required. With his usual tenacity, Doolittle took up the issue, putting together a group of specialists and using his own knowledge to come up with a risky plan. The employment of B-25 Mitchell bombers, medium-range aircraft that can take off from an aircraft carrier's deck, was essential to the Tokyo Raid strategy. By using this novel strategy, the bombers were able to launch from a location nearer to Japan than they could have from land bases, improving their chances of hitting their objectives and making a safe return. Doolittle and his crew undertook rigorous training sessions in advance of the raid to hone the strategies and protocols required for an operation well executed. They concentrated on honing the art of launching bombers from an aircraft carrier's deck, overcoming the difficulties of space constraints and timing requirements. Doolittle also emphasized the importance of target identification and navigation, ensuring that each crew member was prepared for the challenges of combat. Doolittle and his group worked out the specifics of the plan as the attack date drew nearer, choosing targets in Tokyo and other key cities through intelligence gathering and reconnaissance flights. They briefed the crews of the bombers taking part in the raid on their goals and assigned them specific duties in the mission, setting the raid for April 1942. Doolittle and the other pilots set off on their historic mission on April 18, 1942, taking off from the aircraft carrier USS Hornet and traveling towards Japan in the dark. The raiders successfully reached their targets despite unforeseen difficulties and poor weather conditions. They damaged Japanese military and industrial infrastructure before moving on to China, where they crash-landed or bailed out owing to fuel shortages. James H. Doolittle and his group devised and carried out the daring Tokyo Raid Plan, which was a display of American resourcefulness and will. The raid had a significant psychological impact on Japan, despite causing relatively little physical damage. It gave the Japanese hope that the Allies were still capable of destroying their country. The attack was a pivotal moment in the Pacific theater of World War II and solidified Doolittle's standing as a visionary leader. Meticulous attention to detail, creative thinking, and intense training typified the planning and preparation for the audacious Tokyo Raid expedition. James H. Doolittle and his group knew right away that striking Japan's mainland would need a daring and unorthodox strategy. They carefully considered the information at hand, determined the mission's strategic objectives, and created a strategy for its exact execution. The choice of aircraft that could take off from an aircraft carrier and land on targets located deep into Japanese territory was crucial to the planning procedure. The operation selected the B-25 Mitchell bombers due to their superior speed, range, and payload capacity. In order to prepare the raiders for the difficulties they would encounter, training was essential. Doolittle and his group engaged in rigorous training drills, concentrating on the special circumstances surrounding the takeoff of bombers from an aircraft carrier's deck. The crews worked on perfecting their takeoffs, landings, and navigational techniques. Doolittle also stressed the significance of target identification and navigation, making sure that every crew member understood the mission's goals and was prepared to handle unforeseen circumstances. A crucial part of the planning phase was making the necessary logistical arrangements. Carefully stocked and dispersed, supplies, tools and fuel kept the raiders going throughout their mission. When the raiders finally reached friendly territory in China, coordination with local authorities and support staff was crucial to ensuring a successful handover. As the raid date approached, the crews and aircraft underwent final preparations for takeoff. We gave briefings, updated intelligence, and set up backup plans in case something unforeseen arose at the last minute. Doolittle and his group persisted in their will to succeed in spite of the dangers and unknowns that come with such a bold endeavor. They were perfectly equipped to carry out one of the most daring air raids in history, thanks to their careful planning, creative thinking, and steadfast dedication to the objective. James H. Doolittle and his soldiers faced both success and hardship in the wake of the Tokyo Raid. First, people hailed the raid as an incredible display of bravery and daring. The successful attack on the mainland of Japan raised American spirits and exposed the vulnerability of Japan. The public enthusiastically embraced Doolittle and his robbers as heroes for their bold actions. However, the raid's consequences quickly became apparent. Despite the lack of actual harm to Japan, the boldness of the attack embarrassed the Japanese government and military. They responded by stepping up efforts to strengthen their defenses and launching a ruthless campaign of retaliation on the Chinese citizens who had supported the raids, which claimed thousands of lives. The raid's aftermath presented Doolittle and his soldiers with both personal and professional difficulties. The Japanese apprehended a number of raiders after they made a crash landing or jumped out over enemy territory. The Japanese subjected those who survived to cruel treatment and incarceration, keeping them in captivity for years until the end of the war. In the meantime, Doolittle and the other raiders came under investigation and censure from various quarters due to the mission's alleged recklessness. Tensions within the military command arose from questions about the raid's strategic significance and the choice to deploy bombers from an aircraft carrier. Doolittle remained unwavering in his conviction that the operation had succeeded in hitting Japan and boosting American morale in spite of these obstacles. He persisted in calling for strong action against the Japanese and was instrumental in organizing future military campaigns in the Pacific Theater. The Tokyo Raid would go down in history as a pivotal point in World War II and as evidence of the bravery and tenacity of those who took part in it. Doolittle and his men's contribution to the attack would earn them honor for all time, and their memory would live on as a testament to American perseverance in the face of hardship. James H. Doolittle and his soldiers faced both success and hardship in the wake of the Tokyo Raid. First, people hailed the raid as an incredible display of bravery and daring. The successful attack on the mainland of Japan raised American spirits and exposed the vulnerability of Japan. The public enthusiastically embraced Doolittle and his robbers as heroes for their bold actions. However, the raid's consequences quickly became apparent. Despite the lack of actual harm to Japan, the boldness of the attack embarrassed the Japanese government and military. They responded by stepping up efforts to strengthen their defenses and launching a ruthless campaign of retaliation on the Chinese citizens who had supported the raids, which claimed thousands of lives. The raid's aftermath presented Doolittle and his soldiers with both personal and professional difficulties. The Japanese apprehended a number of raiders after they made a crash landing or jumped out over enemy territory. The Japanese subjected those who survived to cruel treatment and incarceration, keeping them in captivity for years until the end of the war. In the meantime, Doolittle and the other raiders came under investigation and censure from various quarters due to the mission's alleged recklessness. Tensions within the military command arose from questions about the raid's strategic significance and the choice to deploy bombers from an aircraft carrier. Doolittle remained unwavering in his conviction that the operation had succeeded in hitting Japan and boosting American morale in spite of these obstacles. He persisted in calling for strong action against the Japanese and was instrumental in organizing future military campaigns in the Pacific theater. The Tokyo Raid would go down in history as a pivotal point in World War II and as evidence of the bravery and tenacity of those who took part in it. Doolittle and his men's contribution to the attack would earn them honor for all time, and their memory would live on as a testament to American perseverance in the face of hardship. The mix of strategic vision, inventiveness, and unshakable drive typified James H. Doolittle's leadership style. Doolittle embraced a set of beliefs as an aviator and military leader that directed his activities and motivated others under his leadership. Doolittle placed a strong focus on setting an example for others, which was one of his main leadership tenets. Doolittle was renowned for his hands-on style of leadership, frequently participating actively in the preparation, instruction, and execution of missions. The respect and admiration of his fellow aviators came from his desire to lead from the front and share the risks and difficulties faced by his soldiers. Doolittle's inventive attitude and strategic thinking also characterized his leadership. He was not scared to go against the grain or use unorthodox methods if he thought they would be more successful. His preparation for the Tokyo Raid, when he came up with a bold plan to strike at the center of Japan despite scarce resources and improbable odds, demonstrated his willingness to think creatively and take calculated risks. Doolittle also placed a strong emphasis on responsibility and integrity in his leadership style. His commanding officers and he himself upheld the highest standards of professionalism and moral behavior, establishing in them a feeling of discipline and accountability that was evident in their performance. Doolittle set an exemplary example for others to follow by acting with honesty, integrity, and a dedication to perfection in every facet of his military career. Doolittle's ability to encourage and inspire others was another aspect of his leadership style. He had a talent for seeing his subordinates' abilities and skills and giving them the freedom to realize their full potential. His leadership style fostered a strong sense of camaraderie and loyalty inside his units, characterized by straightforward communication, mutual respect, and a real care for the well-being of his men. Ultimately, James H. Doolittle's capacity to inspire others, his strategic vision, inventive thinking, and ethics characterized his leadership style. Aviation professionals and military leaders worldwide still use his leadership values, which exemplify the bravery, tenacity, and selflessness necessary for success in the face of difficulty, as a model. James H. Doolittle's leadership, inventiveness, and strategic ideas contributed significantly to the Allied war effort, even after the Doolittle Raid. Doolittle's involvement in the planning and execution of strategic bombing operations against Axis objectives was one of his most important accomplishments. As a pioneer in aviation, Doolittle recognized the potential of aircraft bombardment to destroy enemy infrastructure and undermine enemy morale. His advocacy of precision bombing tactics and the targeting of vital industrial and military infrastructure helped to shape the strategic vision for the Allied Air Force. Doolittle's leadership extended beyond the battlefield to include military planning and strategy. He shaped the general course of Allied air operations while holding important command roles in the Army Air Forces. Doolittle's creative thinking and strategic ideas were important in determining how the conflict unfolded, affecting choices about military doctrine, troop concentrations, and resource distribution. Doolittle was instrumental in training and equipping Allied aircrew for battle in addition to his contributions to strategic planning. Using his personal experiences as a pilot and leader, he created cutting-edge training plans and strategies to increase the efficiency and longevity of bomber crews. Doolittle made sure that Allied aviators were well equipped to handle the difficulties of aerial warfare by emphasizing realistic training exercises, simulated combat scenarios, and rigorous physical fitness. Doolittle also had a significant impact on technological advancement. He played a crucial role in the testing and assessment of new aircraft, armaments and gear, which assisted in locating and resolving Allied air power shortcomings. His work aided in the ongoing development of new technology and the enhancement of Allied aircraft, giving the Allied forces a decisive advantage in combat. All things considered, James H. Doolittle made many more contributions to the Allied war effort than just the audacious mission that carries his name. His strategic thinking, inventiveness and leadership were vital in determining how the Second World War unfolded and ultimately helped the Allies win. Doolittle's reputation as a trailblazing aviator and military commander lives on as an example of the strength of bravery, tenacity and resourcefulness in the face of difficulty. James H. Doolittle's pioneering attitude, creative thinking, and important contributions to aviation history have left an enduring impact on the history of the industry. One of the greatest examples of Doolittle's legacy as a military leader and accomplished aviator is probably his leadership during the historic Tokyo Raid of World War II. This bold mission, in which B-25 bombers were launched from an aircraft carrier to strike the center of Japan, demonstrated Doolittle's bravery, resourcefulness and resolve in the face of overwhelming odds. In addition to raising American spirits, the raid's success signaled a turning point in the Pacific theater of the war by exposing Japan's vulnerability. Even outside of the Tokyo Raid, Doolittle's contributions to aviation technology and tactics demonstrate his influence. As a trailblazing pilot, he significantly contributed to the advancement of instrument flying and navigation by creating cutting-edge methods and educational initiatives that raised flying efficiency and safety. His knowledge of aircraft performance and design helped engineers create quicker, more powerful aircraft that went beyond what was previously believed to be feasible in aviation. Doolittle was a trailblazer in military philosophy and strategic planning, in addition to the battlefield. He was a military leader who pushed for the strategic use of air power and shaped Allied air operations in World War II. His creative and strategic thinking changed the trajectory of the conflict and ultimately helped the Allies win. In addition, Doolittle's impact endures in the innumerable lives he touched and encouraged by his guidance, leadership, and modeling. Aspired aviators and military commanders worldwide continue to admire him for his dedication to achievement, morality, and service to others. All things considered, James H. Doolittle's ongoing influence on aviation history is proof of his extraordinary accomplishments, persistent perseverance, and long-lasting influence on the industry. His legacy will live on for many years to come, since his contributions still influence how we battle, fly, and explore the sky. James H. Doolittle was a real aviation pioneer who, through his daring, inventiveness, and leadership, made a lasting impression on the world. We must honor and never forget this aviation icon's accomplishments as we consider his incredible legacy. Doolittle left behind a legacy of unyielding perseverance and groundbreaking accomplishments. His fearless leadership during the World War II Tokyo Raid demonstrated his bravery and inventiveness, inspiring a great number of people worldwide. This daring mission proved the strategic use of air power in contemporary conflict, while also bolstering Allied morale. Doolittle made significant contributions to aviation technology and tactics that continue to influence the field long after the Tokyo Raid. His groundbreaking work in instrument flying and navigation cleared the path for safer, more effective flying, and his perceptions of aircraft performance and design stretched the envelope of aviation's preconceived notions. Furthermore, Doolittle's legacy encompasses his wider contributions to society in addition to his achievements in aviation. He was a model of honesty, excellence and selflessness in the military and as a guide to others. Future generations of aviators and leaders are continually motivated by his leadership, which serves as a constant reminder of the value of bravery, tenacity, and moral behavior. It is our responsibility to remember and pay tribute to James H. Doolittle's legacy, not only for his unique accomplishments, but also for the ideals and values he personified. His legacy will live on for many years to come because of the things we are doing to honor and preserve his memory. In honor of this aviation pioneer, let us keep pushing the envelope of flight, aim for excellence in all that we do, and uphold the principles of integrity and service that he so beautifully embodied. By doing this, we pay tribute to Doolittle's legacy as well as the inventiveness and spirit of adventure that characterize the aviation industry.